Thinking was maybe one, maybe two at most.
Okay.
Ended up being 4 stents and 2 balloons.
My gosh.
It was quite major in that way, and they were all shocked. They were like, wow. We did the Lions diet for 6 weeks, which was fantastic. I think the first 6 weeks I lost about 8 to 9 kilos.
Isn't that crazy?
It's crazy. I lost 3 kilos in the first week.
Because people think that with that diet, you would be gaining weight.
Right. But I think I really needed to reset my gut.
Yes.
I wasn't absorbing
Because at
my
least-
nutrition,
yeah.
my bloatedness, my inflammation. You know, after that first week on the Lions diet, joint pain gone.
Yeah.
Bloatedness down.
The inflammation is down.
Yeah. I think the biggest change was the gut reset.
The gut reset, yeah.
I think people forget or people don't realize how important the gut is. That's the primary
Yeah.
body.
Mm.
If your gut is off, everything is off.
Yeah.
We are so used to this, must have breakfast, must have lunch, must have dinner.
Yeah.
And then let's order a starter.
Oh, yes.
Let's order a main course,
And we
which
eat
is
bread before the
this
thing. Why
right?
do we do that?
Then
Yeah.
our steak, which has
Yeah.
the mashed potato on the side,
Yeah,
and
and we'll
another
finish it
salad there, or vegetables. There's always going to be a study for and against. There's
Yes,
always
there
something.
is. Yeah.
And that's why I also believe, do your research,
Yeah.
but then go and try.
And do what works for you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Try it. And you know what? If it makes you feel better,
Yeah,
that's all that matters, because that comes into your psyche, your mental wellness.
for sure. Welcome to Forever Fit, where we uncover the secrets to lifelong health and vitality. I'm your host, and today we are thrilled to have Paul Foster, a celebrated media personality and a beacon of wellness in the entertainment industry. A few years ago, Paul faced a pivotal health challenge that required a heart stent, but his journey didn't stop there. He transformed his lifestyle, diving deep into the worlds of fitness, healthy eating, and proactive aging. Today, Paul will share his personal insights on staying fit, losing weight, and embracing a lifestyle that defies age. Get ready to learn how you can turn your health around and maintain peak vitality. So great to have you, Paul.
Thank you.
Yes.
I appreciate now seeing you outside of the clinic.
Yes,
in
I
a
know.
different setting.
Finally, a different setting. So, you know, I've known you for some time, and maybe you can give us some background as to your health journey. I understand you had some major health challenges a few years back.
Correct. So the first thing was my heart health.
Okay.
I have cholesterol, very high cholesterol, genetically disposed. So
Okay.
that's from mom's side of the family.
Okay.
And, you know, I did the full body check when I was 29 going to 30. And that's when I found out I had high cholesterol. So I've been on medication since then. I weaned off it for a brief moment. And then when I went for another test, we found that my levels were astronomically high,
Okay.
like dangerous high risk level.
Right.
So the doctor then was like, this is out of our realm. You need to go in and actually see a cardiologist.
Okay.
And that was the snowball that started the whole journey on fixing my heart health.
Okay.
Yeah.
But you had no symptoms. You just had a blood work done and
That's-
realized cholesterol was high.
That's right. So
Okay.
pre-health screenings are important.
Yes.
That's the first
Okay.
thing I'll say.
Yeah.
I was very lucky and very fortunate that I had identified this situation early,
Okay.
proceeding from finding out the high cholesterol levels. And, you know, we're talking like the 390,
Oh my gosh.
394,
Okay.
395 range. I was like over nine in the other scale.
Yes.
It's pretty bad.
Yeah.
And they were shocked. Like you asked me, there was no symptoms.
You were looking fine, feeling fine.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. And we did so the cardiologist was like, okay, we need to do the stress tests, the EKG and the scan. So did all that,
Yeah.
and found out that I had 2 major blockages
crazy.
in my arteries, right?
How old were you then, and how blocked were the arteries?
Blockage was anywhere between 70 to 90.
Wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
on 2 main arteries, and then a couple of branches as well. So
How old were you when that was?
yeah, so we figured that out when I was 42,
Still very young.
right? Yeah, 42, which was one of my saving graces though.
Yes.
Yes, age. And obviously, again, that started the journey of what do we need to do?
Yeah.
First, control the cholesterol.
Yeah.
Of course.
Okay.
I was generally doing my training already. I was generally eating quite well.
Yeah.
But there was still things we could tweak,
Yeah.
obviously. Age was a very, very big factor for me. The fact that I had no symptoms or anything that happened to me that caused us to go down this road.
Very lucky.
Was very lucky as well. Alcohol, you know, I was in the middle, I guess.
Yeah.
I wasn't obese.
Yeah.
And I think the biggest thing he did tell me, so Dr. McDonald, my cardiologist, said, the biggest thing is you didn't smoke. He said if I was a smoker, there was a very big chance something might have happened already.
Okay.
Yes. But having said that, with all the ticks in my portfolio, the only thing was I had high cholesterol, which I couldn't control. I controlled everything else except I couldn't control that.
Yeah.
And here we were sitting, talking, and he said, you know, I'm looking across the table. Usually my patient is older, obese, a smoker, a drinker, doesn't take care of diet, doesn't train.
Yes.
And maybe I already had some issue.
Yes.
And, you know, I had none of that. So that was my plus.
Yeah.
And he said, we got to fix it, but you're high risk, but you're looking good and everything's well, but we never know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
A ticking time bomb. He said 3 to 5 years, something could happen.
Okay.
So then I was like, okay, let's do this.
Okay. So that's where he fixed you with a stent.
That's right. So actually, funny thing is also the second thing I'll say is so the first thing is the pre-health screening. Very important. The second thing is health insurance.
Yes. I was just about to say, very lucky if you have.
So I had great coverage.
Okay.
And my insurance agent was like, you know, he's on the ball. Old friend of mine, caught up with me. He said, what were your results? What's happening? I said, well, I've got early cardiovascular disease. I've got 70-90% blockage. And at some point, we're going to have to fix this. He said, okay, let me put this in. Let me get the claim for the early critical illness, which worked very well. Yes. But they needed a different proof of evidence.
Oh.
CT scan doesn't work.
Really? Okay.
Yes. You had to do the invasive the angiogram. Correct. So we set that up as, first of all, being exploratory.
Okay.
To get the results, to get the claims back to do it.
Okay.
But they also told me once we're in,
might as well put the stent.
Correct. If you fail the pressure test, we'll put the stents in.
Okay.
Thinking was maybe 1.
Yeah.
Maybe 2 at most.
Okay.
Ended up being 4 stents and 2 balloons.
My gosh.
It was quite major in that way. And they were all shocked. They were like, wow, we never would have thought we would have seen this in a 42-year-old who's, ex-national athlete.
I know.
Still trains, still keeps quite fit.
Yes.
For all extent and purposes. So I know there was a lot of silver linings.
Yes.
That really, someone was looking down on me and taking care of me. And that's great. I like to think that's my dad. So, that was a good thing. And it kind of worked out really well.
Was the recovery process hard though? I mean, 4 stents to angioplasty.
Procedure was really good.
Right.
I felt amazing right after. I stayed overnight, just one night for observation, just in case. But immediately, I think the things I felt immediately was my sleep was much better.
Really?
I was waking up not as tired. So I felt like maybe my blood circulation and oxygenation of my blood and the heart pumping a little bit, maybe less. There's less stress.
Yeah.
I kind of felt like I was getting more, which is great. But
you couldn't go back to immediate exercise. You had to take it slow for a while.
That's what I thought.
Oh, okay.
So I kind of used
I thought that would be the case.
I kind of used that as my philosophy of, you know what? I'm going to take a break.
Yes.
I've been go for so long.
Right.
I'm going to sit down on my bum, chill on the couch, and not do anything. And
was that not the advice from your doctor?
I
would have totally used that as an excuse to Netflix.
And I don't know if that's the right advice. I think maybe you can do it for maybe a short period of time just to kind of recover and get better.
Yeah.
But I really exploited it. I took like 3 months off.
Okay.
And then I started to feel worse. So the 3 months I was like, it was like good, great, actually feel good.
Interesting, isn't
resting.
it? Yes.
And then I started to feel bad.
Yes.
Like really bad.
Yes.
And I was crashing very early in the day. I was lackluster. I was low on energy. Clarity was gone. Motivation was gone.
Yes.
And obviously I went to go and do a few tests to find out like, wait, is this because of the procedure? Is this something that's affecting me? And basically what we found out was my insulin was super high. I was spiking. And that's why I was low energy and crashing.
Because you were not taking care of your diet either. Everything as an excuse to eat and just rest.
And I wasn't burning off.
You were not burning off
the calories I was consuming.
Yeah.
And the carbs, which was then turning into sugars, which is then turning into fat. So,
Yeah.
I put on a little bit of weight. My body was out of whack.
Because presumably before you could eat all you wanted because
I was training.
You were training.
Yes, exactly.
What kind of training regime did you have before this whole thing?
I was training 3 to 5 times a week.
What were you doing?
A lot of strength and conditioning.
Okay.
So a lot of the gym work.
Yes.
I was a bit lazy with the cardio, to be fair.
Okay.
But after the procedure and after that 3 to 4 months where we realized, okay, actually, I need to start training again.
Okay.
And taking care of my diet.
Yes.
And look, after 3 days, I bounced right back because I was starting to burn off what I was consuming.
Right.
It was a very simple fix and very logical actually.
Yeah.
But then what I started to do was I increased my cardio a lot because for heart health.
So at that time, that was the first time I saw you and we did a Dexascan, right?
Yes.
Because you were at the start of this fitness journey, you had gained some weight and you wanted to know what your body composition was like. And then we found that you had a bit of fat. And I remembered, interestingly, I said, oh, Paul, why don't you just go on this carnivore diet?
Exactly.
Just eat beef, salt and water. And then you looked at me horrified. Then I hadn't seen you for a while. So tell me what happened between then and now.
Right. So that's exactly it. We did the Dexascan. We had all the results. I was quite high on the body fat percentage. Yeah. The weight had gone up.
Yeah.
And you recommended the carnivore diet. And you said, there
was a bit of a little horror,
and I was
I think.
like, no, I don't think I'm going to do that. That's not going to work. I want to eat what I want to eat. And then I'll just train to balance it out, which I had done my whole life.
Yes.
But what I should have realized? Because I've been doing that my whole life, I still had all the issues I had and we had to fix it. So, something needed to change.
Yes.
That was the catalyst, obviously.
Yeah.
That was a catalyst for me to make lifestyle changes. I started to focus on the steady state cardio.
Which you have never done before.
Correct. Which was fantastic.
Okay.
The 12% incline. 5.5 to 6.5.
So not even running, just walking?
Brisk walking.
For how long do you do that?
30 to 45 minutes.
How many times a week?
3 to 5
I'm
times
only
a
asking
week.
because I'm very sure there are a lot of men out there that want to look like Paul. So 35 to 45 minutes a week.
That's right.
5.5 to 6.5.
That's right.
Incline?
Incline, 12%.
Okay.
It taxes your body enough, but it gets you in that nice zone where you're in your aerobic.
Yes.
Right? Which is...
And you can sustain it at
correct.
that. You're not crazy
you're not
tired.
Correct. Not crazy tired, but you're sweating and you're breathing and your heart rate's up because that's what you want. That's how you're going to burn that fat. Okay. You're in the fat burning zone. Mm-hmm. Now, I did that for heart health, but the byproduct of it obviously was eventually cardiovascular, health with fat burn.
Yes.
So it was like a double whammy, which is great.
Yeah,
And then later on, I did a conscious leaders retreat in Bali. And I had a wonderful, so just a 5-day retreat.
Okay.
A whole bunch of us there to learn about letting go, emotional, spiritual, physical, mental.
So it's a bit of mental wellness as well.
Yeah,
okay.
with a bit of movement in there as well.
Yes.
And the meditation and the breath work. And
Okay.
we would sit and we'd learn, we'd go through modules to learn about emotional athleticism and raising the human consciousness.
Really?
All these things, which is super cool.
Are these retreats for athletes or lay people?
Everyone.
Really?
Everyone. I'll let you know when we do the next one.
Okay. And what was your main takeaway?
My facilitator, Melvin, who then did a healing session with me after, became my shaman, and he's the one that then prescribed the lion's diet.
Which is more severe than the carnivore diet.
Yes, he scanned me and he was just like, you know what, bro, you are super out of whack. You're bloated, you're inflamed.
Even with the steady state cardio, right?
Yeah, steady state cardio. The diet was cleaned up a little bit, was going back to the gym, obviously. But for me at that point, I was having a lot of gut issues. So it went from heart issues to gut issues.
Interesting. Yeah.
And the only way to fix gut issues is diet.
It's diet
and nutrition.
True.
And obviously based on what you said about the carnivore diet, he prescribed the lion's diet.
Yeah.
So it was only red meat.
Yeah.
Grass-fed red meat, beef, lamb, venison.
Okay.
All day, every day for 6 weeks.
Yeah.
Water,
I did that, I think, for like 6 months.
6 months. Wow.
Yeah.
Which is amazing.
Yeah.
And look, it's a lot easier than people
Yes.
would think.
It's an elimination diet. So you
That's
know
right.
what is causing the problems and then you reintroduce the things
Exactly.
one by one. Yeah.
100%. Again, very logical.
Yeah.
Did it for 6 weeks because that was what the recommended time frame was.
Yeah.
Lots of butter, salt, pepper.
Were you not
water.
worried about your cholesterol? Because you know there is some two schools of thought.
Yeah.
Some people think no, it's not going to affect cholesterol, and then some people think, oh, that's going to elevate cholesterol.
I wasn't necessarily worried
Okay.
because at that point I already had addressed the heart health.
And you were monitoring your bloods anyway.
That's
so
right.
They were
And I was prescribed the Repatha injection, the
All
bi-weekly
right.
injection to really control the cholesterol,
Okay.
to suppress my liver.
Okay.
So I wasn't too worried,
Okay.
to be quite honest.
Yeah.
And at that point, my gut issues were causing me more problems.
What kind of problems were you having?
I was super bloated.
Okay.
And my, inflamed my joints. I held a lot of water.
Okay.
And that was based on also that fat that I had around me because the fat cells is what holds the water.
Okay.
And just indigestion. I just felt like, if I had like IBS or things like that, it was just a lot of things that were compounding.
Yeah.
And I couldn't really figure out what was causing it because at that point I was eating everything.
Yes.
So without the elimination diet, you don't know what's affecting your gut. So we did the Lions diet for 6 weeks, which was fantastic. I think the first 6 weeks I lost about 8 to 9 kilos.
Isn't that crazy?
It's crazy. I lost 3 kilos in the first week.
Because people think that with that diet, you would be gaining weight.
Right. So I lost 3 kilos in the first week, which was probably water weight.
Yeah.
But I guess, again, once you go on the carnivore / Lions diet, you go into ketosis, you're burning fat instead of your sugars, you don't have the carbs coming in. It's great.
Yeah.
It rebalances everything. My hard time was the third night, fourth morning. I was jumping into ketosis.
Yeah.
The headache, the cloudiness, the body was a bit like, I feel like crap.
And you were still exercising at that time, so maybe your body had to use the ketone bodies.
I did stop for a few weeks just to focus on the diet to dial in. Yeah. Gym. I wasn't gymming, but I was doing my steady state cardio.
Okay.
Yeah. Then after 4 weeks, I started going back to the gym and I had zero strength. So I lost a lot of fat and a lot of muscle.
Okay.
And I had zero power to even push. My trainer was like, whoa.
Right.
But because I just had no carbs.
Yeah.
So he said, listen, how long more do you have on the diet? I said, I got 2 more weeks. He said, okay. So after you're done, after 6 weeks, can you just introduce back time carbs?
Yeah.
The day before you're going to see me and right after our training session.
Yeah.
Rice, sweet potato. I've now stopped bread.
Okay.
Bread is my nemesis.
Yeah.
Doesn't do very well for me.
Okay.
But rice, pasta noodles and sweet potatoes, sweet potatoes, fantastic.
Okay.
I do very well on that.
Yeah.
Once I started the time carbs, power came straight back in.
Okay.
I was smashing the gym. So I said 6 weeks was about 8, 9 kilos.
Yeah.
About a month after that 6 weeks with the time carbs, muscle up, fat continued to drop.
Okay.
Visceral fat continued to drop.
My gosh.
I lost another 3 kilos.
Wow.
While gaining muscle mass.
Right.
So I was like, oh my God, something's just clicked.
Because I can see physically you look different.
Yes.
Like a different person.
And my trainer was like, finally, we've been trying to do this for 5 years.
Yes.
And now these are the results that I can get with the transformation of other people that we haven't been able to do with you until now. But I think I really needed to reset my gut.
Yes.
I wasn't absorbing my nutrition. Again, my bloatedness, my inflammation. After that first week on the Lions diet, joint pain gone.
Yeah.
Bloatedness down.
The inflammation is down.
Yes.
Then you
do to feel great. Clarity was there. Different kind of energy.
Yeah.
The vibe was like, okay, let's go. Let's do this. There was a change. And that's when I was like, okay, I got to stick to this. And it's crazy. You take the 6 weeks and you take 10 weeks and just introducing things back in and then continue the training. And I was like, wow, I became a different person.
I think so.
Yeah. And my results were fantastic. I mean, and then that's when I reached out to you again.
And we did the Dexascan. And then I got a shock. And I said to the nurses, this cannot be Paul's results. Can you please recheck and get Paul's results? Because like the fat percentage fell so much, the muscle came up, and the weight was crazy too.
Yeah.
You looked like a different person.
Yeah, totally. You
like
know?
different percentile. And I remember the results. It was age match, meaning matching with other people your own age, as well as matching with everybody else. And you were like very high percentile for the muscle, low percentile for the fat. It was incredible.
It was. And I think the swing, the swing from when I had done my heart procedure to putting on that weight by taking that time off, to then kind of doing the last Dexascan after all the training and diet and being at a more optimal phase in my lifestyle. I think the swing was about 14 kilos.
Is that crazy or what?
14 to 16 kilos.
Some people don't lose that kind of weight their whole life. And you are older now than before, and you are losing it.
Yeah, so that's another thing, we're fast forwarding almost, coming up to almost 3 years later, I guess, actually, no, sorry, it is, let me see. Yeah, the first test was 2022. And then the procedure was 2023. So we're coming up to past 2 years now. But age-wise, it's past 3 coming to 4, which is crazy from the start of the journey.
Because I think you have actually smashed a misconception. A lot of people after a procedure like the heart stent always think it's a downhill journey. Because I have seen patients and friends after a procedure, their whole outlook, maybe it's mentally, physically, they sort of say, I'll go easy, but as an excuse, and for a long time, and the whole thing. And when people ask them, they were like, "Oh, that's
kind of spiral."
Yeah, my heart is not good, and so they've gained weight. But you are reversed, because after that, I must say, you look younger now. You look like more energy. So I'm like, what is it that you have done?
I think the biggest change was the gut reset.
The gut reset, yeah.
I think people forget, or people don't realize how important the gut is. That's the primary body. If your gut is off, everything is off. Right? So again, I love my food. I'm a man of food. I will eat everything. I have done my whole life until obviously now, where I'm a lot more careful. Okay. Not just on what I am consuming, but even the portion. Okay. Right? I think the Lions diet taught me as well, eating literally one thing for 6 weeks, just red meat for 6 weeks. You got to get a bit creative on how to cook it. Because after a while, it's also like, oh, this again?
Again.
So you get a little bit creative. But I realized after eating that for that period of time, we are feeding our body what we want, not what it needs.
Not what it needs, yes.
Yes, I think that was my biggest psychological breakthrough. And then the portions. I wasn't eating breakfast, lunch, and dinner anymore. Okay. You kind of automatically go into intermittent fasting.
You eat when you're hungry, and you don't eat when you're not hungry.
That's it. You almost, again, what they say, this is the primal caveman style of hunt the food when you need to eat it, when you're hungry to survive, and that's it. That's what you have. So it was crazy to think that we are so used to this. Must have breakfast, must have lunch, must have dinner. And then let's order a starter.
Oh, yes.
Let's order a main course.
And we eat bread before the thing. Why do we do that?
Then our steak, which has the mashed potato on the side, and another salad there, or vegetables, drizzled with gravy. Yes. And then after that, we're going to have a tiramisu with another coffee. Yes. And then we're going to have wine with our steak and all that, I look at that, I'm like, but that's normal. There's actually nothing wrong with that in actual fact. I'm not saying don't go out and enjoy as well. Because obviously after my whole experience, we still now go out and we enjoy, but we're just a little bit more cautious and conscious about it. But I realize I'm eating all that, whereas now actually all I need is the steak. Exactly. A 250, 300 gram steak was more than enough to satisfy me for that meal. And I would only do that twice or 3 times a day. So I was only eating on average 750 grams of meat a day. But that's crazy to think compared to what we used to eat. There's no comparison actually. It's quite scary. So that's when I started to again have my breakthrough of, there's something to this. There has to be. Now, I don't believe it's a sustainable
Yeah, me too.
diet.
I think it's great for
and
reset.
Yes.
But it is not forever.
Yes, yes. I mean, but having said that, you did it for 6 months, which is amazing. Which is amazing.
So I did carnivore for 6 months, not lions. So it's probably not so strict.
Yes. And the point of it is a gut reset.
Yeah.
It's that elimination diet you were mentioning earlier. It's then after the 6 weeks, introducing food back in to see how your body reacts.
Yeah.
And your body becomes so sensitive.
It is.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
You immediately know if something is good for you or not.
Yeah.
So for me, I knew I wanted my eggs. I wanted my avocado.
Yeah.
Chicken. I wanted to have maybe my fruit. Bananas, things like that. And then obviously introducing the thyme comes back in and some veggies just to give me that thing.
Yes.
But people also forget, they always ask, could you go to the toilet?
Surprisingly, very, very well.
No problem.
Very, very well.
I think we're also stuck in this mindset of
that we need a lot of fiber. That's not true.
No.
Yeah.
Because the fiber you need to go, everything you're eating that has fiber can't be digested and broken down by the body.
Exactly.
So that's what you're passing out. But you need the fiber to help you pass that out.
But you know, when I was on the carnivore, I had no issues at all.
Same. Yeah. No issues because I think the body's very smart. It's almost digesting and absorbing almost 100% of the meat.
Yes.
It would pass whatever it couldn't digest and break down and obviously consume in that way and absorb. But you could still go when you needed to go. Yeah. So that's, people always, could you go? Could you go?
Yeah, it's all these misconceptions. And
Isn't
then
it expensive?
Yeah. But actually it's not because you cut away all this ultra processed food.
That's right.
I remember I used to snack at night. But now when I was on the carnivore, the only thing I could eat was like, there was a piece of cold steak in the fridge. And when I was like feeling peckish and I'll be like, I could go to the fridge and eat the steak.
Yes.
But then straight away you're not hungry. You're like, okay, I don't want to snack.
Just sleep.
Yeah, just sleep.
And recover, right?
But if you let yourself eat anything, you're like, oh, I'll have bread, I'll have biscuits. But when you have no choice, but you say you can eat, but it's a steak, you're like, no, it's okay. Yeah. I'll go to sleep.
And I think on my average, the kind of average breakdown, if you're having, say, 2 to 3 steaks a day, and we buy in bulk.
Yeah.
I buy the 4 kilo.
I know.
And we cut it into the 250 gram steaks.
You're not hungry.
No.
You're really not hungry.
So you're spending maybe, I think my average is like $400 a week or less. Maybe even 300, kind of give or take. You go out for one nice dinner with a bottle of wine.
For sure.
That's already at least half of your week's food.
Yeah.
So that's, again, my other point. I always bring that, I said, and then you're not buying a Starbucks coffee.
Yes.
And then you're not going out and doing this. And you're not doing that. You're not snacking.
Not buying the gelato, the cheeses, and everything.
Right.
All those add up.
Your groceries for the week. You're literally just buying mincemeat, steaks, diced beef cubes or lamb chops or whatever. Sure, you can spend a lot if you really want. Yeah. But at the end of the day, you're consuming a lot less. Yeah. So you can keep everything in the fridge or the freezer and it might roll over for 2 weeks even.
For sure.
Which is great.
Yeah.
So cost wasn't a factor.
No.
In fact, it saved me money.
Yeah.
And then the other thing
gut health was better.
Gut health was better.
Boredom after a while, how to make it creative.
Just be creative a little bit. So I started to go with the shabu shabu, the bone broth with the shabu shabu, and just the mincemeat bowls were great.
Yeah, I've tried all sorts.
And then sometimes get a lamb chop as a treat.
How about coffee and alcohol now? Because you're now reintroducing everything back. Yeah. So okay with coffee? Okay with alcohol?
Coffee is good. I don't drink as much coffee as I used to, which is fine. I've actually now tried to do more of the green tea.
Nice.
As my go-to. Yeah. But having said it, this morning I felt like a coffee, so I had a coffee.
You're fine.
Because I can.
Yes.
It's more of a want than a need.
Exactly. So I said that's a good resetting, and then you reintroduce, and then you find that you can live. But you're just more conscious of what you eat now.
Yes, yes. Sauces are a bit dangerous. Yeah. The ultra-processed foods, as you mentioned, dangerous. Bread for me is a no-no.
Okay, so at least bread's out, but other forms of carbs are okay.
And then alcohol I've cut down quite a lot.
Okay.
Which is great. I mean, I never used to drink that much in general anyways. But I have definitely cut that down a lot. And now it's just being a little bit more balanced with everything. Okay. Yes. I've gone back to eating.
Yes.
And it's just, like I said, being more careful on portion size.
Yes.
And eating really good food.
Yeah.
Yeah. fresh
Fresh
wholesome food.
Understand.
But that's not to say I don't go out now to a restaurant and we order a whole bunch of food
Basically,
to
you're
enjoy.
still a normal human and you still enjoy.
That's it.
Okay.
Because that's another thing. I
Yeah.
think once you go through this process, it is quite extreme. It is extreme, but you're doing it for the right reasons.
Yeah.
And then after that, like you said, be a human being.
Yeah, be a human
Go
being.
back to-
have a social life.
Yes.
Yeah.
Social life. What's sustainable for you to do in your everyday lifestyle?
Yeah.
You don't have to suffer,
Mm.
but you start to just kind of balance everything out
Yeah.
and make sure that everything is good.
Yeah.
And there's so many different ways it can be done once you come out of it. But I think the real gut reset, there's only one way to do it. And that's the way. That carnivore or lion's diet is a must.
Okay.
And it might not work for everyone. That's a caveat.
Yeah.
But it definitely worked for me. So I can only speak on my
Understand.
journey.
Yes.
Yeah.
But people looking at you, looking so good and healthy now, must think there must be more than just diet and exercise. So, I'm sure what they're thinking in their mind is there some secret supplements you're taking or some anti-aging, biohacking thing, techniques that you are not letting on? And can you please spill the beans?
Yeah, which I'm getting into more of now.
Yeah,
So
okay.
my wellness journey has now taken a very big accelerated step forward.
Okay.
I am looking at more supplements, maybe even looking into maybe producing something at some point.
Okay. Are you taking anything now? Anything for our viewers to
what I did
take
was I started to go into more on the nutrition side. So the omega fish oils is a must for
Very good.
for the
Okay.
heart health and
Yeah.
everything else. Glucosamine for my joints,
Okay.
which I started to get back into.
Do you take any turmeric as well for the joints?
I haven't.
Okay.
Yeah, I could explore that, of course. And then the general kind of a lot of supplements I'm taking now is for my heart health. The
Okay.
L-arginine,
Okay.
things like that. So I think my focus was on that because my gut felt really good. There was a
Okay.
period of time where I was trying to figure out what my gut issues were, was on probiotics, was doing all that kind of stuff.
Mm.
Kind of helped, but nothing really did
Nothing
it.
like
Dead,
the diet.
reset.
Okay.
The reset
So
was the
now,
biggest
okay.
thing. So supplements, yes. I've always drank a lot of water,
Okay.
which is good. The one thing I really fixed was my sleep. So
Okay.
that's
You didn't used to sleep so well?
I didn't used to sleep so well.
Okay.
I was very nocturnal, so I slept later.
So that's by choice.
Correct. It was a lifestyle choice.
Okay.
So I slept later and got up,
Later.
later in that way, I guess. But I would try to get my 6 to 8 hours, of course, because that's what
okay.
they say. They
Yeah.
say 6 to 8 is good.
By later, what time are you talking about?
I used to probably sleep around 1
Okay.
to 2 a.m. And then I
Okay.
would get up at 8, 9 a.m.
Okay.
So I realized that actually we need to dial it back.
Yeah.
You need to kind of be in bed by 11 p.m.
Okay.
The 10 to 11 and be
Yes.
asleep before midnight is
Yes. Yeah.
better.
Yeah.
And then getting up at 7,
Yes.
7 a.m.
Yes.
That swing. So going into that circadian cycle,
Yes.
which is what our body's
Meant to be.
meant to be
Yeah.
in, because that's how we rest and recover.
Mm.
I think that's been one of the biggest step forwards for me
Yes.
as well.
Big difference.
Yes,
know?
big
Mm.
difference.
Yeah.
And I know life can get in the way
Yeah,
sometimes.
of course.
Again, but
Again,
I
we
think
need to live.
that's right. But in the general sense of the schedule,
Yeah.
try to kind of
Yeah.
go towards there.
Okay.
So big change there, and you just kind of follow the pillars of health, right?
Yes.
The 6 pillars of health.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if you can do that, which obviously is sleep, nutrition.
Yep. That's you've targeted that. Sleep,
yes,
nutrition,
yes,
your exercise.
That's right.
Yeah.
The
mental wellness.
mental wellness,
Yeah.
no smoking,
Yeah.
and alcohol,
Yeah.
and and reduce your stress and be happy in
Yeah.
that way, right?
Okay.
Your social networking and
Yeah.
your family and your friends, and have that. So
Yeah.
I think if we can try and conquer these, and focus on them a bit more and get those percentages up,
Yeah.
overall
Yes.
your well-being will improve.
Okay.
So I've been focusing on these pillars as well as much
Yeah.
as possible, and trying to improve them.
So what are
as-
you doing for the mental wellness side? Because we have
Yeah.
hit most of them except the mental wellness.
So I've gone into breathwork.
Okay.
Yes. So
Is that the same as Wim Hof or not really?
it's
Is it different?
it's a deviation.
No.
Oh, he's saying, oh, someone's here. I mean, all breath work is great.
Yeah. Okay.
You just need to find the one that fits you.
Yes.
I think. And the breath work we do is 9D breath work.
Okay, 9D.
So that's our specific, I guess, experience.
Yes.
Headphones on,
Okay.
blindfolds, guided meditation, binaural beats,
Mm-hmm.
music, sounds
Mm-hmm.
at the frequency of 432, the healing frequency
Okay.
for the body.
Oh, okay.
Goes from left sphere to right sphere,
Yep.
frontal to rear lobe, all that kind of stuff.
Right.
Affirmations, positive affirmations.
And then you
and-
breathe together. There will be a guided meditation to tell you when to breathe, when
Correct.
not to breathe. Okay.
Follow the breathing.
Okay. And you
It's
are
somatic.
organizing a retreat or some breath work.
I'm
soon?
doing the breath work.
Yes.
The opening weekend is coming up for
Okay.
us to launch.
Okay.
My partner Layla, we are now, ambassadors for 90 Breathwork for Singapore, and that's what we want to do.
Okay.
Because I've gone through it and I've realized it's helped me on my journey.
Really?
And I feel like everything we're talking about today.
How do you feel after a
Great.
session? 90 breath
90.
work, okay?
There's like 20 journeys you can do,
Right.
depending on what you want to do. Do you want to let go?
Okay.
Do you want to visit your inner child?
Is this a place we go to do breath work? An app we
can
download?
No,
or-
you need facilitators.
Okay, a facilitator.
to actually run the session and
Okay.
run the experience.
Yeah.
And it can be very powerful.
Really?
It can go very deep and very strong,
Mhm.
depending on how hard you push, how
Mm-hmm.
hard you breathe, how you go through the process. I've had a couple of breakthroughs with it.
Really? What do you mean
And-
by breakthroughs?
Look, I don't know if you've seen the videos of like people doing breath work and like full on sobbing,
Yes, I have.
full on, right?
I've seen the videos of
Right.
that. Yeah.
And I've always thought,
And I've always been a bit skeptical because I
Same.
always feel like I'm
How
never
can-
going to sob,
I'm the same as you. I thought exactly that. And then this is me on my second breathwork journey, absolutely losing it.
Really?
Yeah. I was broken in that way.
Right.
I
So it's a release of emotions that you cannot control. You
Correct.
just let it out.
trapped emotional trauma, especially.
I think we all actually
which
have that, but men
all have.
especially, we suppress it.
Suppress it,
Yeah.
100%. So I had it. That has probably affected me my whole life.
Yeah.
And that release was super huge for me. And that's
Oh.
when I knew this is something very powerful. If I can experience that, anyone can experience that. Because I was that guy that was like,
Mm.
no way.
Okay.
No way that can happen.
Okay.
Or at least not for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it was life-changing in that way.
Really?
So we wanted to go on this journey because I feel now I can sit, share and serve.
Okay.
This is what I want to do now.
Mm.
I've been very open with my general wellness journey. I'm filming a biohacking series right now as we speak as well.
Really?
Yes.
Is that on
To-
how to stay young and healthy?
Yeah, just general biohacking, general wellness, everything, covering everything on the whole spectrum.
Oh
And
my goodness.
just because I guess it's kind of a buzzword now as well,
It is.
right?
Yes.
But we don't want to just make it a buzzword. We want to do it factual. We want to get the results,
Yeah.
the stats, speak to the pros,
Yeah.
get it all done,
Yeah.
and talk about it. And talk about it with me actually experiencing it so that at least whatever result we get, at least I tried it.
Yes.
And the
Yeah.
thing is, there's so many things out there. You just need to try what works for you because we're all different.
Yeah.
But for the most part, I think generally you could do a lot of things and there would be some sort of positive result.
Yeah.
I'm a firm believer in that.
Yeah. Doing something is better than not doing anything and letting go.
That's right, yeah.
Yeah.
You're just going to tweak it
Yeah.
and then try a few different things and find what works.
Okay.
Find
So
what-
far, is there
yeah.
one thing that works very well for you? I mean,
Ooh.
there's so many biohacks. People
Yeah.
shining red light, hot cold therapy.
Yeah. I sleep with a red light.
Do you really?
Yeah. When I'm sleeping alone,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
sleep with a red light. I love that. And they always say, even before bed, have the red light on a little bit just to
Right.
bring
Okay.
your brain
Mhm.
down and your eyes down. So I love that. I love red light therapy. I've tried the whole cold and hot therapy as
Okay.
well, which is great.
For somebody who exercises a lot like you, did that help you?
I think so. I
Okay.
think to a certain degree.
Yeah.
But then, there's so many studies always. So it's like now they're saying actually the cold therapy, for example, is not good if you want to build muscle.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but the thing is also there's always going to be a study for and against. There's
Yes,
always
there
something.
is. Yeah.
And that's why I also believe do your research.
Yeah.
but then go and try.
And do what works for you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Try it. And you know what? If it makes you feel better,
Yeah,
that's all that matters, because that comes into your psyche, your mental wellness.
for sure. Yeah.
And you find things to work on your physical, your mental, your emotional, and your spiritual.
Yeah.
If you can work on these 4 things, that is us in a nutshell.
I'm so glad you talk about mental wellness, because a lot of the biohackers I speak to, they're always talking about external stuff.
Yes.
And people don't actually address mental wellness, but actually that's a huge portion of staying young and feeling young.
I mean, this is it, right? This was a mental wellness day,
I
right?
noticed it.
That's it, right?
I thought you were asking me a question.
Yeah, so this is it. I wanted to wear this today because that's exactly it.
Yeah.
And you know, sometimes it's just that they always say that this one sentence to ask someone can break them out of a really bad day.
Yeah.
Of the suicidal thoughts, even if he's going to the extreme.
Yes.
Or, you know,
Yes.
and it's just by asking, hey, how are you?
feeling?
Yeah, how are you feeling? How are you?
And you know, even amongst doctors, I was having dinner with doctors and I was speaking to them and I said, do you meditate? And one doctor said to me, I can never meditate. I can never sit down and quieten my thoughts. So isn't that strange? You know, we're doing all these things to make each other look better.
That's right.
But we're not really looking and focusing inside. But inside is turmoil.
That's the monkey brain.
It's the monkey
It's
brain.
the monkey brain, which you need to shut off.
Right.
It's a lot harder nowadays with everything that happens in this world, with technology especially. But you need to find a way to shut off the monkey brain.
Can you shut off the monkey brain?
I have done. I can do. I also did a Vipassana.
Yes, I wanted you to talk about that because it's amazing.
Yeah. So after my retreat and after my journeys there with, you know, with everything, with healing.
So explain the Vipassana. It's not talking meditation.
That's
retreat.
right. So it's a 10-day silent retreat where you don't have your phone, you can't journal, you can't read, you can't speak to anyone. You meditate up to 11 hours a day.
My God.
If you really go hardcore, I think my average was about 7 hours a day.
Okay.
Because you sit in on 3 mandatory 1-hour sessions.
Is this in Bali or?
We did this in Auckland.
Auckland, okay.
Our mentor and partner and friend in Bali, Dave, who owns the Astana. So he owns the Astana in Bali, which is a wonderful space off the cliff down south in Uluwatu. You can go there for your biohacking, your cold hot therapy, your yoga, your meditation.
It's crazy.
It's super awesome. It's
Okay.
wonderful. Recommend you going there if you're ever in Uluwatu, Bali. He's done very, very many Vipassanas. He actually runs his own Vipassanas. He's on a 10-day as we speak. I think they started 2 days ago. He's on a 10-day Vipassana now at the Astana that he is leading, but it's water fast.
Oh my God.
Just water for 10 days.
How did you survive for 10 days?
I didn't do that. That's what they're doing now,
Okay.
which is
With it just
next level.
Yeah, but
But
yours.
for us was just the 10-day, we could eat breakfast, we could eat lunch, and then it was, you had tea time with maybe some fruit and tea, and then it was fasted all the way till the
But no
the next morning.
talking.
No talking. That was the easiest part. I loved it.
Really?
I
I don't know if I
loved
can I talk to myself?
Technically you can. Technically
I
you can.
mean-
Look, we were told it's life-changing and it's a very, very big challenge. It was...
Was it trying for you, like after day
No,
3 or
I
4?
loved it.
Really?
I loved it. It was... I
Really?
really enjoyed myself
I'm
there.
surprised because for a public figure like you, I just didn't think you could go silent for 10
It's
days.
just nice to detox and
Really?
and disconnect.
phones? You're okay?
Disconnect. It was actually really cool.
But meditating for 7 hours?
Yeah, 7 hours on average, 11 hours if you push it. You know, you wake up at 4:30 in the morning.
And you just sit there and meditate.
That's right. Then it's breakfast at like 6:30.
And nobody talks.
Nobody talks. And then you have that session. And then you go and rest for a while. And then you come back for another meditation session. And then you have lunch at like 11:30. Then you rest for a little bit. Then you have the next session from 2:30 to 5:30. Then you take a little bit of a break. And then you do 6:30 to 8 o'clock.
Wow.
You know, another
days.
meditation session. And then you do your discourse, listening to the guru talk
Okay.
about everything.
Okay.
And you just go. And the first 3 days, all you're doing is focusing on the breath here.
That's it.
That's it. Breathing here.
Nothing complex.
Nothing complex. Just here. Focus, focus,
Okay,
focus, focus,
okay.
focus, focus. Quieten down the monkey mind. On the 4th day is actually when the Vipassana starts. Then you start to do every day of the breathing technique.
Okay.
And breathing and scanning. It's all about
Ah,
scanning the body.
okay.
And you go into this flux.
Mm.
And that's all you do. Day in, day out. I hit my first breakthrough where I started to get the flux.
Yeah.
We started to get into that zone.
Yeah.
I think it was night 7 and day 9 were my two wow.
How did you feel?
Great. And I was very lucky. The only thing I would say is, look, the no talking is easy, no phone, great. The food was very nice,
Oh,
but
okay.
obviously full vegetarian, vegan. You need to get used to the fasting part, perhaps, but just drink a lot of water as well.
Yeah.
And then falling asleep early to wake up early is what you need to kind of adjust to. And then just meditate. And the crucial thing was finding your comfortable seating position early.
Okay,
because you have to sit and not move.
Okay.
That was the hard one.
Just normal cross-legged?
You can sit
On
any
the
way
chair.
you want.
Okay.
So you see people building their fortress with cushions and blankets and everything.
Right.
I was lucky I found my position on day 2.
Okay.
So I was good.
Okay.
I tried to see if I could fix it in on one of the days, and it was disastrous.
Okay.
I suffered for that 1 hour. So I said, okay, I'm going to go back to what works for me.
Okay.
I had very minimal, by the way. So I was like, okay, but you can see some people have mountains of pillows and everything. It's quite cute. You look around the meditation hall and that's what you can see. Okay. You kind of figure out people by, how they did it. So I went a little bit more minimalist, but the experience was fantastic.
Did the experience change you when you come out? Did the world seem different?
To a certain degree, integration was, it took a couple of days. But I think, again, it's a journey for yourself. And they say to continue that journey, you should be meditating 2 hours every day afterwards. 1 hour in the morning, 1 hour in the evening.
Is this a religious thing, or is it for everybody?
Yeah. It's based on Buddhism. in that respect, but it was only because of the enlightened one doing this practice to get enlightenment. Yeah. But back in his day, he was just a normal human being that found that. He wasn't a deity. He wasn't a god. Yeah. Over centuries, over 2 millennia, that's what happened.
I see.
So he was built up to be, that. But in actual fact, he was just a normal guy that got enlightened at 35 years old. Yeah. And so look, it was a great experience. Whether I would do it again, don't know. Because we realized also, actually, we could probably do our own kind of detox
meditation
wellness week. Maybe book a nice villa somewhere and do that on our own. Get off the phone. And that's what I think we learned. We didn't continue the practice of the meditation because also it was just something that we weren't really focused on. And then now we want to focus on the breathwork. So the 9D breathwork was what we were focusing on. So that it all goes in phases, and that's what we want to do.
So I want to ask you, what does the future hold for you? Because it seems like you're doing so many things, and I want our viewers to know, what can they look forward coming from you?
Well, look, career is still more on the hosting side of things.
Yes.
I enjoy that. I have a lot of fun doing that. The digital content's always great. But more so now, stepping into this new realm of wellness. I really want to focus on this now.
That's what you should be focusing on because you have lived through it.
It's a genuine, authentic.
You actually have a health issue. You rebuild. I mean, not many people can say they've gone through that journey.
I fixed myself.
You fixed yourself.
So my personal goal outside of the work is I really want to get off the pharmaceutical medication.
Okay.
That's my plan.
Yeah.
And after the Lion's diet, after the diet, with everything else after, even with the time carbs, with all the training, with my body, recomposing and doing everything, my cholesterol has dropped. And that's without the injections anymore.
Really?
That was the biggest thing for me. So I knew I'm on the right track because the results don't lie.
Yeah.
It's never happened before.
Yeah.
And now it's happening. So I must be doing something right.
Yeah.
I have weaned off the statins and the other medication. So now my next thing is to do the next test.
Yeah.
Go onto the natural supplements with the omegas and L-arginine and
see
anything
how far
else.
You can push it.
Correct. And see if I can still stay in the healthy range for my cholesterol.
Okay.
And if I can achieve that, then I can remove all the pharmaceutical
That's
medication.
amazing because genetically you're actually predisposed to high cholesterol. So you're actually fighting a losing battle.
Correct. Correct. Which was the hard part. But now I can see that with the right diet and the right sleep and the right exercise and the right wellness on, again, physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, I'm getting the positive results. Something has shifted.
Yeah.
So it's possible. And that's what I want to continue doing.
So that's epigenetics for you. Even though your genes define you, just by doing all this, you can actually modify how your genes behave over time.
That's right. That's right. So
And
I'll keep you posted, of course. We're always in touch.
Yes.
And I'm really happy that you have been a part of my journey.
Yeah, I'm so glad that I'm a part of your journey too, and to listen to all the amazing stories.
Thank you.
Yeah, so thank you for coming.
Of course.
Yes. A huge thank you to Paul Foster for joining us today and for sharing his inspiring journey towards a healthier, fitter life. It's clear that with the right mindset and strategies, anyone can redefine their health trajectory. To our listeners, we hope you leave this episode feeling motivated to pursue your own fitness and wellness goals. Don't forget to subscribe to Forever Fit for more expert advice and inspiring stories. Stay tuned and stay motivated because your path to lifelong health starts now.